welcome back to my channel. This is part 2 of my Africa trip. If you missed part 1, I'll put a link to it down below in the description box. Thank you so much for all the support I got last week. I didn't expect to get as many views as I did, so thank you very much. Let's get on with part 2. I ended last week's video with my visit to Zambia. After visiting South Luangwa National Park, we travelled further up East Africa and stopped off at somewhere called Tribal Textiles Courtyard and Cafe. This was another chance in my trip where I got to support the local community. G Adventures helps out with this company and they hire 100 locals who create textiles for the community and also travellers to help with conservation of South Luangwa National Park and also to help stop poaching. While I was there, I actually bought one of the textiles. I really wish I brought some more home, but I was really worried about my cash at the time because I thought I'd need it for further adventures, so I didn't want to spend it seeing as though it was like in the middle of the trip. But I really regret it now, so I so wish that one day I could maybe go back and buy some more because they're such beautiful pieces. Bought one with an elephant and a zebra on. You can't see it very well, but I'll insert a picture of it right here. If I would go back to that moment now, I would definitely buy a lot more because I came home with a bit of cash. After lunch in the cafe, we got back into the lando and made our 4th border crossing into Malawi. The campsite that we would stay at for the next couple of days was right next to Lake Malawi, so it was a nice time, a perfect break in the middle of the trip. This was actually one of the first times I've stayed in a hotel room since the very first night of my trip, so this was really nice because it was nice not to sleep on the floor with all the bugs. I actually had a proper bed with a toilet and it was really, really nice. I didn't really get up to much in Malawi other than chilling out and getting a bit of a suntan and getting drinks and playing card games. We did spend a lot of time in the lake doing a bit of snorkeling, seeing the fish, but other than that we didn't really get up to much more. The one thing I did do in Malawi was go and see a witch doctor. This was such a weird experience. I'm so glad I did this. I was quite nervous at the start. We actually had a man come into the campsite we were staying at to explain all the different activities we could do around Malawi, and one of them was a witch doctor. And all of us were a bit unsure about it at first, but when we actually went and did it, we were so glad it happened. We were taken by a local man into the village where we got to a little hut with lots of brown benches outside where we all sat down and met the witch doctor. He first started out with giving out like spices and little home remedies that he'd got that he thought could cure different things, that he helped with the community. He'd give them to people when they were sick. And then he also passed around photos of himself helping people and curing people. And then he did little dance for us. He had bells on his waist. People were playing the drums. And then eventually he took us all in one by one into his little hut and told us our future. He told me that I would get a lot of promotions in life and I would continue to travel. He knew that this was my first trip to Africa. He also told me that my friends and family were missing me at home, but he also told me that they were really excited for me to come home and tell them all about my travels and adventures. I really hope the bit about the promotions was true because that's pretty good. During the time we were with the witch doctor, there was a group of children that followed us around listening to every word he was talking about. This was really cute. I actually think they made the experience all a little bit better because we actually got the chance to interact with them and really understand a bit more about their life. They also did a little dance for us at the end, a little song. I'm not sure if I can necessarily put it in this video, but I'll just show the little bit of them singing. Vina. After a couple of days in Malawi relaxing, it was time to get back into Lando and do our next border crossing. We went from Malawi into Tanzania. This was one of the bits that I was really excited about for this trip because I could go and do a bit of snorkeling and really enjoy the sea. But unfortunately, the whole time we were there, it poured it down. But luckily we stayed at a really beautiful resort with really nice pools. It had a really nice room. We had a hammock outside the bedroom door. We spent a lot of time in the pool, drinking cocktails, having a really nice time. There was one day where they told us that if we paid a little extra money, we could go and do a bit of snorkeling and then maybe a bit of dolphin chasing. But unfortunately, because of the rain, we all got our hopes up and really wanted to go, and it got up really early in the morning and they told us when we got there that we couldn't go because of the rain. This was really annoying, so one day I really hope to go back to Zanzibar to explore the snorkeling life and the proper coral reefs and everything that were there. After a couple of nights soaking up the sun and enjoying the resort near the sea, We started our journey down to Stone Town, but on the way we stopped at a spice plantation. Here we got the chance to take a little tour around a natural spice plantation, and they explained to us all the different spices they grew here and how they were made and how they chopped them up to send them to factories and things, and we also got the chance to buy a few spices at the end. I ended up actually buying my mum this little boat with lots of different spices. I'm not sure whether you can see it, but I really thought it was a really cute idea. It has lemongrass, coriander, cinnamon, fennel seeds, red chilli, ginger and turmeric in it, and I thought it was a really nice gift to take home. And also anyway, I also bought this vanilla, check what it is first, vanilla tea. It's a mixture of 2 spices, including tea leaves and small pieces of vanilla, and I thought it looked like a really cool gift for somebody in my family. I haven't actually had the chance to try it yet, but I really need to because it sounds really interesting and it also smells amazing. Once we'd finished up at the spice plantation, we made our way to the hotel in the middle of Zanzibar. This was a really unique hotel and I actually really enjoyed my time there. It was quite an old building and we had 3 separate rooms to the hotel room. Obviously we had the toilet, then the bedroom, and then we had a little sofa TV area. We also had a little bit of a balcony that looked across the rest of the hotel, and it was a really interesting place. Once we kind of settled into the hotel a bit and kind of relaxed a bit from the day, we went on a tour around Stone Town. This tour included things like the market, and the man told us about the history and the culture of the place. We also even visited Freddie Mercury's house, which was pretty much just a door. One thing we got to see on the tour around Stone Town was one of the slave market sites. This was a really interesting place. It had a museum on the top which provided information about the slave trade and also personal experience of slaves, like personal slave stories. I've never actually had the chance to learn anything about this other than little bits in school, so this was a really informative experience for me. I actually got the chance to go into 2 of the slave chambers. These were underground rooms that were used to keep the slaves before they went to market. The man said that it would hold up to 50 to 100 men, and there was only 10 of us in the room at the time, and it felt very cramped. A lot of the slaves died from starvation, also suffocation, because so many people were crammed into there. I always thought that travelling was about improving yourself and having a really good time and really pushing yourself out of your comfort zone. But I've also kind of learnt now that it's also about experiencing other people's cultures and really informing yourself on things like that, because it can actually make you a better person in life. I really think this trip has helped me learn a lot of things, and I'm really glad that I chose to go on it, especially for this next part, because I got the chance to go and spend a couple of nights in the Serengeti National Park and visit the Ngorongoro Crater. I was really looking forward to this part of the trip because it's the one thing that you see in all the nature programs, and you know that you're going to see millions of animals there, and you know it's just going to be like the best safari. For this part of the trip, we actually swapped the Lando for small little 4x4 safari vehicles. These vehicles had sliding windows. There was only 6 in a car, and then obviously the driver, who was also the tour guide. And the top of the vehicle also popped up, so we could stand up in the vehicle and really look out and see the whole like 360 degree kind of view of the Serengeti. These vehicles helped me really think that I was getting like a proper safari experience, because it's like the things you see in the nature programs that they all travel around in to see the animals, and it got really exciting at that point because it felt like I was going to have the best time. When we got to the gate of the national park, I had my first proper experience with the baboons. This was actually quite a scary experience because they're quite the big scary animals, and when they're cross they get very cross and very scary. There was lots of little baby baboons as well, so while the men were checking us in we actually sat and watched them for a while, and they were all clinging onto their mums' bellies and they were all grooming each other, so it was nice to just see them in their natural like habitat. The Serengeti was everything I dreamed it could be. It was like being in a National Geographic programme. Every time you went round a corner, driving down, there was just animals everywhere. We saw lots of zebras and wildebeest just driving along like normal. We wouldn't stop for them because they were everywhere. I think it was because they were migrating there at the time, so there was lots of them everywhere. A lot of the animals as well were quite close by, like we got quite close to some giraffes. I actually kind of found this very therapeutic, And I found that I really like just sitting and watching giraffes. They're very elegant and very calm. At one point of the safari, the man stopped to look at a group of zebras. And we were all a little bit confused about this because we'd seen a lot of zebras and we didn't really feel the need to stop to look at them because we'd seen so many. And then he pointed out to us that one of them was actually different to the rest of them. He had spotted a blonde zebra in the rest of the black and white ones. This is a really rare experience. I actually found an article earlier today on National Geographic saying that it's quite common in captivity in zoos and things. We were actually incredibly lucky that day to see an albino zebra, and it was really, really beautiful. Another point in the safari, we actually passed another safari vehicle that had got stuck in mud, and there were a couple of other safari vehicles trying to help pull it out. So in the end we had to pull over and help, and then eventually nearly every vehicle that was there ended up getting stuck in the mud. And it was actually it was a really funny moment because you were in the middle of a really beautiful place with a lot of amazing animals, and we're all trying to tug at this big vehicle. Everybody had to pile out of it and push it, and the other vehicles were pulling it, and then other vehicles were getting stuck in it. But it was quite a funny highlight in the trip. Because we spent a couple of days in the Serengeti and at the Ngorongoro Crater, we didn't actually have a campsite to go to every night, so we ended up actually wild camping. Not quite as similar as the time in the Delta, because we had a proper toilet block and we had proper facilities to cook in. But one of the nights in the Serengeti, we actually had quite a scary experience. During the night, people had heard rustling and loud noises. Luckily, I'm quite a deep sleeper, so I didn't hear any of it. And when we woke up in the morning, our tent was we had a little awning on the tent, and all the poles had been pulled out the ground, and a couple of the lines out of the tent had been pulled out, and our tent was a bit lopsided. And I kind of thought nothing of it when I woke up in the morning because I was tired. I just got up out of the tent and went to the toilet and came back and realised that something was wrong. And then when I actually asked around about it, people said that they'd heard things during the night, and in the end we realised that the buffaloes had been fighting. So imagine if the buffaloes had just stepped a couple of centimetres further, they might have actually landed on me, which is actually really scary to think about now. But I'm so glad I didn't hear it, because who knows what I would have done if I'd heard some buffaloes fighting just literally centimetres away from me. On our last day in the national park, we went down into the Ngorongoro Crater. This was a huge flat bit of land where we could see for miles. We saw loads of animals. At one point we also saw a flock of flamingos. They were quite far away and we couldn't drive close up to them because of the rules of the national park. But you just saw this huge area full of pink birds. It had also rained quite a lot this day, and we actually got to see a full rainbow. I don't think I've ever seen a rainbow that's gone from one side to the other side completely before, and you could see where it landed. It was really, really clear. Later on in the day we came across a heavily pregnant lioness. She had obviously gone to relax and take shade under somebody's safari vehicle. We actually got a chance to get really quite close up to her, and she didn't seem too fussed about all the noises of the cars. The man actually explained to us that if we'd have sat there possibly all day, she wouldn't have moved very much, and we might have also seen her give birth to her cubs because she was that far along. I really hope we'd have had time to do this, but obviously this was our last day on safari and we needed to get back. The Ngorongoro Crater and the Serengeti National Park were going to be my last safari of the whole trip, and it ended absolutely amazingly. All through the last 3 days of us being in the national park, all we wanted to see was a cheetah, because we hadn't seen one the whole rest of the trip. We'd seen all the big five, and we wanted to see a cheetah to it's not on the big five, but to tick it off the list. And in the very I think it was the last 15 minutes of us needing to leave the crater to go to our next campsite, and we saw 5 cheetahs. This was a really, really lucky experience. It was like we wished it and it happened. They were such beautiful animals. I mean, they were a long way away, so I'm so glad I had quite a good zoom lens on my camera so I could take some nice pictures of them. But I was so lucky to see 5 all at once, and it was a really amazing way to end the trip. After leaving the Serengeti National Park and the Ngorongoro Crater, we went to our very last campsite where we had a couple of drinks and had a really nice last night together. And in the morning we woke up really, really early to make our final border crossing into Kenya. Luckily, on the way into Kenya, we saw the teeniest glimpse of Mount Kilimanjaro. It was a very foggy day. I do have a picture of it which I will insert now, but it's just a very, very white outline of the mountain. This trip was honestly one of the best things I have ever done. I'm so glad I pushed myself out of my comfort zone to achieve something like this. I can't believe that I've now seen the Big Five. I got over my fear of being in a small plane over the Okavango Delta. I've wild camped, I went to Zanzibar, I did a little bit of snorkeling, although I would have liked to have done a little bit more. I truly have had the best experience, and I think if anybody is thinking about doing this, I would definitely recommend G Adventures and SDA Travel, because it's honestly opened my mind to everything. It might have even changed my career path, because all I want to think about doing now is travel, experiencing different cultures, learning about different people and different areas of the world, and now my challenge in life is to get to all 7 different continents, and I really hope I get there. Please like this video if you enjoyed it. Also, don't forget to subscribe to see any future stuff. Hopefully I'll have another video out next Sunday, so keep an eye out. Also turn on that bell notification so you know when I've posted my next video. Thank you so much for watching. See you soon.